Today we have an Ethan Bradey coaching. Really insightful, motivating chat that we had. We spoke about the power of finding your why, how to find purpose when you lose your identity, how to set effective goals, and the power of being you. You know what we're doing on Playing the Game podcast. We're on a mission to help 10,000 people live a better quality of life. That's why I do these every week. That's why I share them with you. And that's why I want this podcast to be top 50 by 1st December 2025. I want your help. Can you please send this episode to one person who you think will get some value out of it? That's all I ask from you. If you do that, you are the number one, and I appreciate you. But besides that, let's go. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you choose?
It's so funny. Obviously, talking about sports just before, but mine would be LeBron James, Tom Brady. I'm just going to throw in a little bit of sauce, someone random, someone funny. Probably go someone like Travis Kelce at the moment. He's popping at the moment. So, two, I reckon, for me anyway, GOATs, Tom Brady and LeBron of the NBA, and then Travis Kelce just for good times, eh?
I love what they're doing, like Travis and Jason, just with the whole new heights. It's just giving a whole different perspective, and you sort of look over in America scene and you got like Podcast P, like Paul George, and they're just getting a very different mind frame. It's cool having when LeBron and JJ Redick had their little podcast. Well, that went
coach
off.
And player now. That's the most interesting thing, is that they can go onto a podcast and talk about the nitty gritty, the X's and O's, and then they're out there on the actual floor, like putting into play, which is, I think it's such a cool insight that people get now, which is obviously the cool thing about the sports media now, is that the players get to tell their story and tell their part without the media interrupting or creating a narrative. So yeah, I think same with you, bro. Like, I agree. It's cool.
Be interesting to see how Australian athletes sort of start. I saw KP Kalumponga is releasing vlogs now. Terrell May, Joseph Soliti, like they're all starting to get on that vlog train. Chad Townsend has had his for a while now. One for me, it's been an eye opener, is Sean Johnson on the play on, I think it is. Just that breakdown, it was like the breakdown of the Penrith. Oh, that was, he did I think it was like 3 weeks before the finals, and he's like, just pause there, play there, pause there.
We talk about Tedesco at the back, and he's like, he was talking about dropping it off, like going under, and then that one.
Cleary's like, I have him. He was there, and he put the grubber through. And then we did another one in the Storm from the grand final. They ran the same play, but they changed the variation. They threw the short ball, and they ran that wraparound for the fullback. So they just knew. He just knew that's like from Penrith. They just knew that Storm were going to absolutely just be doing heaps of video, watching it. And you see, I think the centre jams in on Paul Alamotti, jams in on him, and then as soon as he gets there, he sweeps around. I think Dylan Edwards it is, and he runs that wrap play. So it's the same setup, and then boom, tip play, and they score. It's just having the way Sean Johnson breaks it down and just gives you that insight into. It's hard to, you can never see inside someone's head. So you see them on the footy field, and you're sort of thinking, oh yeah, what's going on? But like when they start talking and get that breakdown like that, it's so interesting.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like he's not only known for like his flashy brilliance and stuff like that, his sidestep and the pace as well. But for someone to open up and share that side of them is like so crazy, and you don't even know. And that's the same thing. I was so surprised that it's like it makes you look at the game completely different, and it makes you want to become more of a fan as well. Which is like, you know, NRL is doing so well at the moment with the attention and stuff like that. So no, it's cool to see.
Talk about LeBron, Travis, and Brady. What sort of aspects draw you and inspire you from them?
So the first time I actually watched the NBA game was when LeBron was playing. He was playing for Cleveland. And I dove into sort of his history and stuff like that. And from such a young age, he was put under so much pressure. And for me, like being a young kid that wanted to play professionally, it was like, what are the aspects that I can take and the character of a kind of person that would be able to deal with that pressure. And for him, like from a young age, was just amazing. Like he was selling out like his high school gyms, and to have that pressure as a 18-year-old, and when the media has so much attention on you, like so many people like first round picks normally become a bust. Like they just don't make it because the pressure and the heights of being a star like that just can turn you into the person that you probably don't want to be. And to see him I've never seen him do anything wrong. And he's been in the NBA for 20 years and still putting up more points than most of the league.
He dropped a 39-point triple-double something yesterday.
It's a joke at this point, eh? And it's like he's almost doing it for fun right now. Like yesterday I saw something, he just hit a 3 off 1 foot. Like everything's a joke to him now. So I think that was something that I really wanted to take and bring into my own self and use that in my daily life. And then Tom Brady is just like the attention to detail and the kind of guy that he was, just a fierce competitor. And to win continuous Super Bowls back to back and stuff like that. Again, in my era anyway, and my first NFL game being watching the Patriots again, it's like it sets a fire inside you that it makes you feel like anything is possible. And I think as a young kid, you look up to those players like that, and you're like, I wish I could do that. But at the same time, it's like if they can do it, I can do it too. Almost as a delusional aspect, but as a young kid, you don't know any better. It's like you think anything is possible. So seeing those two, and then Travis Kelce, like at the moment, obviously he's getting a lot of attention for who he's dating and stuff like that. But I think he has a lot of fun. He looks like a fun guy. And I think that's something that even from a young age, I wanted to become an athlete so bad that you forget to have fun as well. All those times not hanging out with your friends, even though it's a sacrifice that you're willing to make. It's now anyway, like I have so much more fun. Like the hard work is fun now. And it's something that, for most of the part of my life, it's the hard work. It's like you just grinding. It's like you showing up to training, the early morning trainings. It's like you're not in a mood, but it's like you're not thinking about the journey as much because you're thinking about the place that you want to get to. So for me now, it's like, even though this may be hard, like it's still cool to like have fun and enjoy yourself as well. So that's definitely an aspect that I enjoy about him.
It's cool how the athletes have we talked about before, the media and that side, because growing up, as you talked about, you see them and you think I can do that. And you, as me anyway, as you get older, you don't actually see like LeBron James, Tom Brady, for example, he'd be a little bit crazy to be able to do what he does and to be able to break down the game like that. His brain works differently than other people's. And all those top people do that. But when you're younger, as you said, you sort of like, you love it, but then now you're starting to get older and you start to see like their oven burns bright. And Nathan Cleary, they talk about him, for example, and they just reckon like he's just video. Like all these times his video, he's out in the field, he's doing all the extras. I had Anthony Mitchell on the podcast and he was playing in Cowboys and he used to say that like Thurston used to go and wet the grass at the home stadium and kick the ball on the grass just to sort of see how it was.
Just certain patches?
Yeah, and certain patches and just to see how the ball was going to retaliate from when you kicked it there.
That's some next level
and it's
stuff,
just who thinks of like, all right, it's going to be a wet game, Townsville might be a bit moist. Let's just wet a little bit of this grass here. Let's see how the ball reacts. So
you'd have to, bro. There'll be no water up there. It's too
hot. You spoke about enjoying the process. I think as I've gotten older, it's definitely something I'm trying to do more, and you're trying to enjoy those hard things. Why do you think it's important to do hard things?
I think it's the foundation of, like, if you think about what kind of person do I want to become and what would it take to become that person? And normally it's through hard things, right? And I think just by default now, like where we are with the world at the moment is like the default is distraction. It's comfort, it's convenience, which is so hard and so far away from the things that I think built us as humans, is that we went through hard things. Like if you think back in the day, like you're probably going 24 hours without food. Like that's hard. And hunting, walking, foraging for those things, like I think we're built off hard things. So now that we're completely gone the other way, where it is convenient, where it's so easy to get instant pleasure, the gratification, the things that, make us weaker and not stronger is default now. So actually actively going and seeking those things is the thing that makes us happy now, which is so interesting, right? We think that, the instant pleasure or the gratification now is going to make us happy, but looking back again, enjoying the journey, it's like, it's always those things that where you thought you couldn't do and exceeding your own expectations. like that is the happiness, and that is the things you want to work on to become the person that you want to.
Concept I saw the other day was hard times are only relative to what you've experienced before.
Yeah.
So I talked about this yesterday. For a run, for example, you run a 5K and it could be your PB. So it's the longest run you've ever done.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you run 6 and you run 7. And then now, for me personally, I'm usually a 10K runs probably standard. Then I look at a 5K and that used to be the hardest thing for me to do. But now because I've challenged that mountain, it's just very easy.
Yeah.
And I think such an important factor is being able to challenge more mountains, and it hard becomes relevant to what you've already experienced.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree in everything's so easy now. It's like you want to order food, boom, Uber Eats, like whatever you want,
It's
you have to
dangerous.
click. And you talk about how our ancestors, like they had to hunt for food, and now we're getting food as we want, and it's so easy. And that instant gratification, it feels so good in the moment, but that just wears off.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I think like social media, you get home and you just sort of sit there and you just get in a trap. I've had to turn a timer on my phone.
Yeah, I'm the same, bro.
Like I have to have that timer, otherwise I'll just. There's no. I saw like a study in the whole thing about the scroll is there's no stop cue. So with your brain, there's nothing to say to change that pattern. So it's just scroll, keep going, and then you just keep going. There's no thing to say, all right, time's up. So whereas I have a timer, so it's like I have 30 minutes a day. So then I get that lock screen, and I'm so thankful every single time I see it, and I say thank you to my phone. I'm like, I was in a doom scroll there. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go change my patterns. How long did you play sport for?
It's all I knew. From a young age, I was obsessed with sports. Looking back, which was had its pros and cons, but literally playing every sport under the sun: cricket, golf, rugby, tennis, hockey, and I think for me, I was quite naturally talented, so I was drawn to sports, and just using your body, eye coordination and stuff was very natural to me. So I was drawn to those things, and both team and individual sports. So my whole life, like sports has been ingrained into me, which is still there's a part of me that I still carry that, like that young kid that just loves sports and wants to just become the best version of himself through that. So yeah, sports has been my whole life, really.
What has sport taught you over the years? What are some of the key lessons?
Yeah, so it's so funny you hear like parents talk about, oh, I wish I got my kids into gymnastics or sports when I was younger, because it teaches you so much about being able to control yourself and your body, as much as it teaches you about life. I think everything that I've learned in my life anyway has been through sports. It's taught me everything: patience, consistency, discipline, performing under pressure, dealing with pressure, dealing with wins and losses, like failure. You know, you could go your whole season winning every single game. You get to the final, you could lose. Like, that's also hard, like mentally, physically, and emotionally. Like, and those are the strongest emotions and things that I feel even to this point, is that those losses when it was the biggest stage in a final, like there were always things that I remember, but also using that now, looking back, I'm like, I was so well equipped to deal with anything that I do moving forward, even though sometimes I may not have used those lessons. And sometimes obviously you have to learn lessons a couple of times to actually grow from them and learn. But I think everything that I've learned, for me, majority anyway, has been through just the sheer determination and ability to understand that you just don't know. And given that you put in all your effort and you get to that final or whatever it is, like, it doesn't mean you deserve to win. You could win your whole life, but that one game, it's like it can all come crashing down. So that's why now I'm like, enjoy the process, because you just don't know what's next. So that's been something that, yeah, I've always taken with me and like I hold close to me, because I think it's taught me everything about all the aspects of life, communication, willing to do things on your own, going and being part of communities that are achieving the things that you want to achieve as well. So yeah, I'd say it's played a huge role anyway.
Failure is such a good lesson to learn early. Like
Yeah.
those games, losing your finals, as
Yeah.
going through undefeated. I don't think I've ever done
Just
this.
losing is a good skill. Not a good skill. I wouldn't say you want to lose all the time or anything like that. I'm not telling you to go out and lose on purpose, but losing's a good thing.
Yeah. Winning's a great skill. Losing's a byproduct.
Yeah,
you learn
yeah.
to deal with it.
Yeah.
You can't have the wins without losses, and it is something that does correlate into life. And you don't get the job, or you don't get the girl, or whatever you're gonna get, and you got to be able to deal with that. And that's just part of the journey. It wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
Looking back, some of the biggest losses that I've had are the biggest lessons and the best moments. I wouldn't change the losses for anything, because that's where you get the most growth from.
Yeah.
What do you think most people get wrong when they stop playing sport?
Well, first of all, I definitely got it wrong. Obviously, especially in rugby culture, when you play and stuff like that, the weekends can get pretty gnarly in terms of partying and drinking, whether you win or lose. And it's a habit that I kept after I finished playing. So I guess the first lesson that even for myself looking back was I needed to continue to work on myself. You work on yourself within a team environment, getting better, fitter, stronger. Continuing to have that structure throughout your day is so important. And people talk about, I want freedom, but on the other side of that is discipline. Like discipline and freedom aren't opposites, they're partners. If you want freedom, you have to learn to discipline yourself. And it was something that I didn't do because I think I wanted a break from it. When I had the injury, it was like, I just want a break, man. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. It's like 25 years, and I'm like, like, I finally get a break. I remember sitting in the surgery room, and the doctor comes in, and he's like, yeah, sweet. So, like, we'll be able to start rehabbing that thing. And I was just like, I don't even want to know anything about rehab, man. I just want a break. So it was, yeah, I think that's number one thing is, especially for men, I'm not too sure how it's for you, but like having purpose in my life is the thing that, with a combination of other things, makes me happy. And I have to be purposeful. And I want to know why I get up every day. You know what I mean? Like the hardest thing is get out of bed and not knowing why you're going to do that thing, why you want to go for a run, why you want to go to the gym, why you want to wake up early and go see the sunrise. And that's something that now looking back, I was just like, yeah, I was purposeless, which caused me to not be purposeful. So it's something that for me anyway is like, got to find something outside of the sport that you're doing that will continue to focus your mind as well, especially in a distracted world. And it was something that, it was too easy, and it went on for like 6 months, a year. So yeah, having a purpose after whatever finishes. But the thing that I learned the most was tying my identity into the thing that I did. It was a part of who I was, and it was only a thing that I did. It wasn't just me, and it wasn't just my identity. Like, I needed to cultivate more of myself outside of what I did, because that's all I did. Like, that was sport, but it wasn't also me as well at the same time. So having a ability to not tie your identity to the things that you do.
Having a why is so strong, even if you're not an athlete or whatever you're going to be.
Yep. It doesn't
you need
matter
to have
if
a
you're an
why.
athlete or not, for sure.
I've just literally finished the book Start With Why. Really good book.
Summon Sinners?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good read. It's very businessy, but you can, you take what you want out of it and how to apply in different areas. But I think being able to have a why, I'm very big on the night before I'll do my writing of my next day, and it just do a brain dump of all my thoughts, my mission, grow on the podcast, things like that. And then it just it gives me power. It charges me up. I'm laying there in bed, I do my visualization, I do my writing, and I just feel like I'm unstoppable. And it's such a good feeling to go to sleep and I wake up with that feeling already, because from that feeling last night, I've written down my steps, my day. I got this, my top goals. I usually do like 3 things that I have to do. And if I do those 3 things, then today's a win. Then I'll chuck a few more. And if I get those done, then it's a bonus. But that comes from having a why and knowing my purpose and having something to work towards. I think when I finished sport, I was ready to stop playing footy.
Okay, yeah.
So I was sort of at that stage where I was probably 25. I'd played since I was 5.
age,
so 20 years, and I was going to retire that year anyway. Also injury to finish. And I was like, okay, sweet, free time. And it took me about, I think, have been at 29 and I was playing OzTag. I remember this moment very clearly.
Yeah.
I was going to have the game at OzTag and I'd been getting the Hungry Jack shaken wins for like 2 weeks,
no
like
way.
every afternoon. They're like $3.
So
I'm like
good.
smacking those.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the car before and I was just, I wouldn't say depressed. I definitely wouldn't be that far, but I was just very sad. I'm like, I wasn't myself. And I remember messaging my friends and I said, I'm going to make a change. And then I'm like, who, like, do you want to do it with me? Like, I'm going to set myself a challenge. And then that's when 75 hard came up. It popped up on my news feed. And I'm like, okay. And for about a week, I told myself I couldn't do it. I'm like, that's so hard. I'm like, I couldn't do that. And it just kept playing in my brain, I think about 2 weeks. And then I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I'm so thankful that I did it. It was tough. I remember I had heaps of birthdays, had heaps of events. The drinking was the big thing. Was like, all right, well, you can't drink 75 days. The 2 workouts wasn't too bad. Some days were tough. I'd just get a walk in. But I guess that helped create my why. And that's definitely helped shape who I am. One thing that I got from that was at the start when I said the 75 hard and I kept telling myself, I can't do it. But then it's just being able to tell yourself that you can. And you don't have to do it straight away. I had this conversation with one of my friends and he's like, I don't have time to exercise or I can't do this. And I haven't told him this. I mean, he probably won't watch it, so I'll have to go and personally call him. I want to tell him, just say you can. You don't have to do it straight away. You don't have to say, I'm going to exercise tomorrow. But just start telling yourself that you can find time to exercise because your brain is going to start looking for areas that you can. It's like, okay, well, I've got half an hour here. I could maybe go for a walk. And it starts with that. But it starts with telling your brain that you can do things. And then it sort of, doesn't say tricks it. You work together. And then your identity starts being, oh, I am someone that can do these things. Do you have a similar change when you stopped playing? Were you sort of, how long did it take you to find your purpose afterwards?
I'm not too sure, but I remember having the thoughts even after I got out of surgery, because for me, my mind went to like, what's next? And I don't know, it's just something that I've always had. I was just like, even though times weren't great, I knew that I could do whatever I wanted to. Again, coming back to that young kid that had the belief that he could do anything. But now it was, I don't have the evidence in this new thing that I want to do. And that was scary. Because I've had a stack of evidence through sport. I can win. I've lost before. I've come back. I've won. Like, that's cool. But it's different now that, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what is the next thing for me? Well, I've got all these ideas, like, coming through. But it's exciting, but it's also uncomfortable because I've never done it before and I don't have any evidence of doing it before. So like, how do I get myself into a position that, again, given that this is the thing that I want to do, what are the things that I have to do daily to be able to do that? And again, coming and using sport as an analogy, well, sport, like anytime, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, training, no stone unturned. Do the things that you need to do to get to that result on the weekend, using that same thing for whatever I wanted to do next. So it was knowing that I could transfer those learnings into the next thing and using that as, I guess, comfort and the knowledge that given that you put in the effort, again, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to be successful, but you're going to learn and become a person that, given that you take those lessons, whatever you do, you're going to be successful in whatever you do. So I don't think there was a pivotal moment. There was just moments of like, it doesn't matter what I do, as long as I can trust myself, just like I have before, I'm going to be okay. And yeah, that was sort of my sort of flow. But the thing that really changed it for me in terms of, I just started spending time alone. And I think for the most part, for the start of rehab after the injury and stuff like that, I felt alone or felt lonely. But when I started just to spend time alone, I started to enjoy that, because that's when you get to have the reflection. That's when you start to get the ideas. You know, you're never thinking, they always talk about it, you always think of your ideas when you're out on a walk, a run, in the shower, you know, those shower thoughts. So it's like, that was really the thing that really transferred. Like, I need to spend more time alone. Like, I need to reflect on myself and who I want to be as well. And that's something that even now I'm like, I crave that time alone. And it's someone that, never used to do that as much. It's like, it's my favorite time of the week is like just away from everyone, spending time alone, reflecting. So I guess for me, it's just been a consistent amount of moments where it's just built up to where I am now anyway.
I like what you said about evidence. I had a similar, I went to a conference, seminar thing, and they said a very similar thing. They talked about stacking evidence and even borrowing evidence, similar to what you did.
Yeah.
You said you borrowed evidence from sport and then brought that to business. It's like, oh, I've done this before in a different scenario.
Yep.
If I just do what I did then here, then it's going to be something I can do. And I'd been really trying to do a similar thing. It's like, okay, well, I've done X before, so then that's going to give me confidence to do something else. So I think it's really important to, similar to how we said about doing hard things, it's like it doesn't have to be the same thing, but if you can sort of find some evidence that you've done something else before, then you can sort of translate it.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. And like, for those who are listening, I think that's so important is that just, I think a lot of people think about, you just have to do hard things that it doesn't matter because they will transfer. Given that you learn that anything is transferable. So I see so many people like they won't go and talk to girls, right? It's like, oh, I would never do that. It freaks me out. But they'll jump in an ice bath for 3 minutes. It's like, they're the same thing. They're both uncomfortable. But given that you do it more, like that guy won't go talk to the girl at the bar, but he'll jump in an ice bath for 3 minutes at 0 degrees, like sitting there like he's meditating. So it's like, again, like it's the same thing. It may be a different outcome, but for some reason, it's like there's these limits or these upper limits that there's things that we can do and we can't do, but what's the difference? There's no difference in trying to wire your brain in a way that they're just both uncomfortable situations, and the result is, again, it'll be what it needs to be. But yeah, I think transferring what you're saying, transferring that evidence is, because everyone is good at something, and transferring that evidence, you're good to go.
Mindset that I'm trying to really adapt lately is just not giving a fuck in a sense. Like that, it's really hard. It's sort of, I've been trying to do a lot more vlogging, so I'm trying to get my camera out, and getting a camera out in public is the ultimate test of courage.
What's the most uncomfortable thing you've done so far with the camera?
My camera? Even this morning, I went to a new gym, went to the Torah. So I don't know if you know anyone like Ollie Moore and like Chris Griffin. So they're, semi, like everyone there. I think that Annabelle Rutherford, I don't even know how to say her name. So you got some big like influencer type people there. And it's only the first time I'd been there. So having the courage to get my camera out and being that person who's getting the camera out and trying to like record, that was tough for me. Like I pulled up all the confidence. I'm like, so I've done my pre-speech. I'm like, I'm going to go a Torah for the day. I'm going to get the camera out. I'm going to do some recording. I get there, 2 cars pull up and I see like 2 fit people. I'm just like, damn. Oh, come on, Jackson. And then I'm like, oh, I'll go in. Then my mate pulled up. So as soon as I had that confidence there, I'm like, all right, camera's out. Like I got a bit of security. But it's definitely, I was talking to Dan, who I work with, and I went to the coffee shop the other day and I was recording myself, just getting some B-roll. And he sort of said, was the coffee shop busy? And I was like, yep. He's like, how was that? And I was like, it was tough, but I didn't give a fuck. Like, you got to stop caring what other people think. I'm reading a book at the moment, The Courage of Being Disliked. It's a very interesting book, but
the way it's written is different, eh? It's like these,
it's like, it's conversational.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah, I've read some of it.
Yeah.
But again, like, it was, the conversational thing got me a little bit, so I actually haven't finished it.
I'm on Kindle, so it has like percentage left. And another thing I'm trying to be a person who finishes things. Yeah. So I'm 47% through. It's tough. When I was talking about that conference, went the other week as well, and they said, talk about, are you someone who has like 4 books on the go? And I was like, like, that's me. Looking around, like, not me, this guy. I was like, I'm next to my bed. I have like 4 different books. And then I went home and I finished them all. So I'm like, just one book at a time. So, but just having the power to not care what people think, especially with like the camera, for example. I'm never going to see those people again. And if they go home and they see who I am, maybe they follow me on, they subscribe. 100%. Like no one cares as much as you think they do. People care more actually to help you than you think they do. So I think that's I
will preface that some people won't. Like a lot of people do, and that's the thing. Like people that are focused on their own journey would love to help you, right? But at the same time, there are people that will be like, I don't fuck with that. I don't know if can we swear.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my thing. Oh, it's weird. They will judge you because I think that's just it's part of human nature, but it just doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter. Because I think for the most part, it's like when you see something new or people see that because we're so naturally negatively wired, we're like, oh, why would you be doing that? Like, that's weird, bro. Like, it's just something that, so what? It actually doesn't matter. And that's something, because people are like, oh, will they judge me? It's like, yeah, they probably will, but that actually doesn't matter, bro. You're like, it's okay. It's not going to matter. It's got nothing to do with you. And if you allow their judgment on you to affect how you feel about yourself, then maybe it's like a little bit of inner work on yourself to have that confidence to be like, yeah, no, okay, sweet. Like, they're on their own journey. I'm on mine. So why would I allow their journey to affect mine? So I think that's also a little preface to be like, there will be some people that do. And obviously coming from New Zealand, Australia, there is, obviously I haven't experienced it too much, and maybe in sports and stuff like that. But, you know, the tall poppy syndrome and stuff like that. You go to America and you tell them what you're doing, they're like, bro, that's crazy. Like, how can I support you? Here, it's like, it's a little bit like iffy. There's a little bit of clear air there. You know what I mean? So it's like allowing yourself to continue to take steps, even though that might be the case for some people. But for most people, they want to help you. Like, when you reach out to me, I was like, I know what it's like to start my journey too. So it's like, I'd love to have a conversation with this guy because he's got the similar mindset. He's probably got similar values, and we can talk about that. So anyone else that's wanting to start something, they're like, oh, there's actually people out there, because I think it can be very lonely and thinking that, oh, no one else does this. I'm the only one. Getting down on yourself. But there's actually a lot of people doing the same thing, and they want to help you because that also helps them as well. So I think that's something important to consider anyway.
The old saying is, if you wouldn't take advice from them, then their opinions don't matter. And I think that's very true. 100%. The other one, I'd probably very cliche, is no one above you is going to talk down to you.
Yeah.
The people who have done that, been through your journey, who you actually look up to, as you just said, like, you've been in that journey, so you want to help people. You see people, you're like, oh, I remember doing that.
You smile, bro, and you're like, oh, I remember doing that for the first time. It's like, good on you, man. Like, we need more people like that. And I think that's so important. And it gives you a sense of freedom as well. It's like, whew, I don't have to worry. I'm not the only one. Like, there are people out there wanting to do the same thing. So yeah, I think it's important.
That sense of relief when you ask someone for help and they say yes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so good. Just, it gives you a little boost of endorphins. It's like, oh, thank you so much.
Again, it's like that momentum, right? When you pick up that momentum, it's hard to stop. And and that's the thing, like, anything you do, like, rejection is one of the hardest things to deal with, because you think it's about you, and not putting all that weight on yourself. And when people are like that, it's like, oh man, that's so cool. Like, it's good to see that, you know, I'm not getting rejected. So
rejection makes you stronger, but got a couple of few no's. How was it like when you first started? So you do the help ex-athletes with the coaching. How was it when you first started? What were some of the biggest barriers that you had?
Yeah, the biggest barrier was always myself. It was, is this going to work? How will people look at me, think of me? All those things that you start with. But for me, again, taking that evidence from everything else, it's like, just focus on what you can control. Do everything that you need to get moving. And I think when you start your own thing, it's your own journey. And the hardest thing is that we look to others for advice, given that their advice is going to work for our particular journey. But the thing is, most people are giving you advice from what's worked for them and not necessarily you. So being able to distinguish between those two of, are they helping me think about how I can go about my journey, or are they just telling me how they did it their way? Because everyone's just so unique and different. And I think it's important to have some grace with yourself and understanding, like, it's just going to be up and down for the first few months anyway. And it's probably going to be up and down like your whole
Forever.
life. And that's what they say about, like, when you do your own thing, like, be willing to go with the ebbs and flows. Like, it's some months you're going to be great. Some months you're going to be like, holy shit, can I pay rent this week? And again, coming back to enjoying the process, it's like, when you're having those tough times, it's, you know what, like, this is actually cool. Like, I'm doing my own thing. I'm struggling right now. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, how cool is this going to be when I get to tell the story? And that's something that I come to if I'm going through like a tough period and I'm trying to figure something out, is like, this is going to be a good story to tell. So enjoy it, but also knuckle down and get the things done. So, I mean, it's still up and down now, like, truthfully. It's not perfect. It's not consistent growth. Like, we're not just going straight to the moon with it. Like, it takes time. So that's sort of been my journey so far. But I think the number one thing for me is that I don't think I've ever wavered in terms of confidence or giving up, because it's something that I can't go a day without doing. And that's been my mind frame for, like, if I'm going to start something. I saw something the other day. I don't know if you follow a guy, Zach Polgroff or something like that.
Yep.
And he was like, before you start anything, if you wouldn't do it for a day, if you wouldn't do it for a decade, don't do it for a day. And that's been my mindset. It's like, if I want to start something, I'm in it for the long run. I want to do it forever. And I want to be continuing to get better at it every single day. So I started from the mindset that I didn't care about the money. I cared about what I was doing, and that was more important to me. So, yeah, that's sort of been my journey so far. And I think one of the best things is being of service to others and seeing others where they start and where they finish, like PBing half marathons, losing the body fat, and just the energy that they feel about themselves is so, I'm just like, that's the coolest thing ever. And I just want to do more of that. So, yeah, that's sort of like how I feel about where I'm at, how I feel about it as well. And yeah, sort of my mind frames into why I do it as well.
Matthew McConaughey has a section in his book, and it's when he decides to call his dad, and he asks, all right, I'm going to go all in on this movie thing, which is so weird. And his dad just replies, okay, don't half-ass it.
I saw that not long ago, but that's so cool.
That's what I thought when you said, like, the decade thing. It was like, all right, I'm going to go all in. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, okay, go all in, just don't half-ass it.
Yeah.
When you talk about the ebbs and flows, I thought about this the other day. I feel like when you do new things, you ever play Mortal Kombat on the PlayStation?
No.
So when I used to play,
I'm not a games guy.
Yeah, okay. Remember when I first used to play when I was younger, like young as, all I did was just button bash. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I just press all the buttons and just hit it as many as I could. And then you sort of start to figure out a little bit. And then you're like, oh, this button does this. And you start to figure it out. And then next minute you go on level 2. And the whole game starts again. You're like, oh, I have a little bit of knowledge now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what this level looks like. So then I feel like life and trying new things is very similar in the sense that you start figuring things out. But then as you figure it out and you beat the level, you get another boss, you get another challenger. And that's business and that's life. And it's just so important to be able to, okay, you look at your skill set. Have I beat the last boss? Yep. All right, I'm going to beat the next one. It's going to take me a little bit longer and I'm going to have to learn some new skills, but that's just how you should approach it. What are some of the most common services or issues that you work with your clients with?
Yeah, on the surface level, man, and that's the thing, like, for me, it's important to build a relationship with that person, because even though we may say something, there's something beneath that, that's a little bit deeper as why it's driving them to work with me. So for the most part, like, again, I think people move with the times, and at the moment it's obviously the hybrid style training, and like, I want to be stronger, fitter, faster, leaner. I want to PB my half marathon, my marathon. I want to also bench press 100 kgs, etc. And that's all fine. And I think that's important. Like, for me, it's about doing all those things, because fitness, most of the fitness industry is based around how you look. And that's great. It's important. And it's also something that I do care about myself. And for others, it's mostly what they care about. You know, I want to lose the 10 kgs and stuff like that. But beneath that, and when I develop the relationship with the person, because obviously they're not just going to tell you, like, this is the actual thing that's driving me. It's like the confidence, like what their health and fitness, what they can do. Like, it's not necessarily about PBing the half marathon. It's becoming the person I never thought I could become. Because when they first start, like, you're like, oh, what's a goal time that you want to do? And they're like, oh, I sort of want to finish it. And then when they smash it, they're like so happy and so stoked. But for them, it was like, I actually can be confident. And the thing is, it's like, you were always confident. It's just it took you a goal to get you there. And that's the thing. It's like we just want to be confident in that whatever we do, we can achieve. And normally having those conversations, it's normally something going on in their life, whether it's a breakup and etc., or change in their life, or something that was forced upon them. It's many different reasons, but I think it's always about, am I capable enough to do the thing that I want to do? So I guess surface level, stronger, fitter, faster, leaner, but on deeper level, it's like I just want to feel like I can be capable of doing the things that I want to do and do what everyone else is doing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, I saw this person do this. I want to do that as well. So yeah, I think those two layers are the main things that I sort of want to dive into as well. It's like what actually genuinely drives you to do this thing, and then using the training to get you to that point. So that's sort of the main reasons, and from my understanding at the moment, why people come to me anyway.
When you work with them, do you look at a bit holistic sort of view? I know some of you had a look at the Instagram and you look talking about the sun and the routine and that. Is that something you focus on?
Yeah, so it's something that probably the last couple of years, obviously the health space and what is going on in the world in terms of like obesity and stuff like that, is we're marketed in a way that isn't necessarily fundamentally changing our health, from the food, from understanding the effects of sunlight, the effects of stress management, social connections and stuff like that. Obviously, COVID drove a lot of that, and that people wanted to get back to social connection. So I think everything is, again, I hate the word because people overdo it, is everything is holistic. Everything is connected, from your social connections to your own individual health. The way you look, the way you feel, and the way you perform comes from the food that you eat, the people that you hang around with. They're all interconnected. You may be in the best shape of your life, but you may be struggling with low testosterone that's affecting your health, your drive, your mood, your energy. You'll want to go out and meet people or a potential partner. Like everything is so connected that even though you maybe look fit, there's other things that you're struggling with that are actually affecting your health and how you show up in the world. So something that really opened my eyes up is understanding how everything is intertwined from a social aspect, from a mental, physical, emotional aspect as well. And that if you get those right, again, anything is possible because you have the ability to go to those different areas of your life, see what's lacking, fix them up. And I always talk about like it's a leaking bucket, like your health, like let's figure out where you're leaking water. We want to keep as much water in the bucket. Let's plug up the holes and make sure that we can get you to where you need to be so that you can continue to live the life and achieve the things that, again, you never thought were possible. But it was just, there were some things in your life that aren't where they need to be right now, that if we do, we can make change.
What are some of the things that you focus on personally to make sure that you're at your best?
A lot of reflection. I think that's been the best thing I've done the last couple of years, and I've never been a big journaler. And again, like as a person, it's like that stuff's weird. Like the whole meditation, the breath work. Like, what are you guys doing? Like sitting on top of a mountain with the shirt off, meditating. And now I'm probably that guy down the beach doing the same thing, bro. So, very ironic, but reflection has been something that's really important. So having that time alone, sunlight, waking up early. Sleep has been a big thing. So everything to do with my health. So from nutrition, from hydration, all the things that make me a healthier and happier person. And then again, having that purpose, like knowing why I do these things, knowing why I want to be healthy, knowing why I want to eat certain food that helps me be my best, has been something that's really important. So I try to really focus on how do I get better today? And that if I did that, then I'm going to be satisfied by the end of the day and I can sleep well knowing I did that.
Spiritual health is something that I haven't. I'm very similar. Like growing up, I'm like, what? I hated writing.
Yeah.
Like I'll do English. I'm like, I hate
Writing
this
about
so
yourself
much.
seems so, to me, it seemed so egotistical. And I was just like, it's so weird that people would write about themselves. And now that I understand, it's like, it's not so much writing about yourself, but it's taking that weight off yourself. Like stop putting so much pressure. And I think now especially when you get older, like I'm in my late 20s now, and it's like, it's a weird position to be in. It's a weird time to be in because some people are getting married, having houses. Some people are just starting their businesses, and some people just. I feel like I'm in the middle, and it's like taking that pressure off yourself so that you can see clearly. Like I think we walk around with this cloud or maybe the mask, and it's just like, just if you write about those things and just reflect on them, they don't have to keep coming back in terms of thoughts. So clearing that and moving forward with like a clear mind is. I think that's the richest thing that you can have right now is a clear mind in a distracted world.
It's just your thoughts are easier when you can read them and see them than they are in your head.
Yeah.
So just that cloudy, and I agree. The other night, I had a post and I put it up and got like 2 likes. And so I started there and I was like, no, it is what it is. It wasn't too sad. But I started writing, and by the end of it, like my whole thought process had changed. Like it doesn't matter. Like if those 2 people enjoyed it and they got something out of it, then how cool is that? I helped 2 people. Whereas if you're like, oh, it's only 2, but it's like, yeah, but I could do 1. If one person sees a post and gets value out of it and enjoys it, then that's a win. Just being able to write, like it wasn't even a huge thing. It's probably like a paragraph of writing, and each line you just get clarity. You're like, oh, that's right. And next one, you keep writing. It's just I do mine on my OneNote, and my tab is literally brain dump.
Yeah.
And it's just each night, it's just brain dump.
Bro. Yeah.
Everything that I did today, what went well, what didn't. I already did it, but as I spoke about before, that Matthew McConaughey in his book, I listened to his, and so much of his book Green Lights is
good.
just from his journals.
Yep.
And he sort of said focus was he'd always write about the bad days, but he's like, well, I want to write the good days so I can sort of see what's going well. So I'm like, okay. Because I probably would be like a 3-day journaler. I'd get to like Thursday, Friday, I'd get too lazy, whereas I'm just really trying to focus on every single night. Just clear the brain, start the new day fresh, keep the good thoughts, get rid of the bad, and go from there. Are you a consistent meditator? How's that look for you?
Yeah, so I don't think I have many forms of meditation, I guess you could say. And that is, again, sitting there in silence, the hardest to do, for sure. Like, for me, it's a very overwhelming experience to just sit there. It's kind of scary sometimes, it's just like nothing's there. It's just quiet. But running is meditative for me. Training is very meditative for me. So I don't think I have a specific one that I enjoy the most. I think they're just different environments and experiences. Like when you're running, for the first part, it's just where like you're out of breath and stuff like that. And that's the thing with running. I think if you can get past that initial stage, if you can get into those states where the body's just moving and the mind is so clear, that I think is a great meditative state. Again, training, but just walking on the beach first thing in the morning is something that is very meditative for me. And I think we get so caught up in what is the best way to meditate. It's like, just find what works for you. And for me, it's many ways, all of those things, given that it's not like an interval train or something like that. And it's like a hard effort, which is why I enjoy like the easy runs just as much, because those are the runs that you can really get into a state of just being with yourself. So yeah, there's many ways. I think there's many ways to meditate. Other than just sitting there and hoping that you'd have some weird spiritual experience or something like that, you know what I mean?
That's a cool perspective. I'm sure a lot of people would think when they hear meditation,
You have to sit
you have to sit there,
100%,
doing those
cross
ones.
your legs, you know what I mean?
I used to be like that as well, and then I saw someone spoke about running, and they spoke about the same thing. It's like the same. You're focusing on your breath, you're controlling your breathing, you're just in that rhythm, and you get in rhythms when you go running. So you just...
I think that's one of the best experiences, that when running feels effortless, it's so cool. So cool.
A lot of people, when they start running, just go ham.
I hate it. Yeah.
And
that's
they go,
problem.
and they're just like, oh, I just did 5Ks. They've never run before, and they're doing like 5K splits. And it's like, that's
You're
good
moving.
speed, but like that's quick.
Yeah.
Like you just want to be able to enjoy it. You want to breathe. Like, you want to come back to it.
Yeah.
Running is a cool experience once you can sort of get past the preconceived idea that running sucks, which I feel like gets a lot of people like, nah, running
If you're
sucks.
going into that mindset straight away about running, it's like, it's hard. It's like, yeah, of course it's going to be hard.
It's always hard when you start.
Yeah, 100%.
We spoke about everything as a holistic approach, but if you could give 1-2 steps for someone to sort of move their life in a better direction, what would you advise them?
I think number one is just focus on your journey, and know why. I think the whole coming back to the reason I do this is because, like, maybe if that's a journal prompt, like today you go home and it's like, I do these things in my life because of this. Start with that. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not like a big advice giver. But yeah, I think it's so important that this is your life and you can do whatever you want with it, given that you're willing to go through the things that are going to hurt so bad, the pain, the suffering, and be willing to lean into that. I think you're going to be okay, and surround yourself with people that really motivate that about yourself. But most of all, like, know why you're doing it, because again, like, life's just too short, like, to do something that you just wouldn't want to do. Like, put aside the money and stuff like that. It's, do you genuinely love this thing? And I think the number one thing is finding something that I came across this thing. It was like, find your gift and give it away. Like, I think there's nothing more special that we can do for each other. Is we have our unique gifts, and giving that away to the world, you'll get the value back in spades, exponentially, given that you do that every single day. You just give your gift away. Be you, give your gift away to the world, and you'll be repaid in buckets. And I think that's a good mind frame to go about how you'd like to live your life anyway. Because there's no rules, man. Like, just find something that you love and everything will come back, given that you give everything first.
I think that's a great one. The why. I speak about it all the time.
What's your why?
Why
do you want to? Why do you want to start this and have conversations?
This isn't a podcast; it's a mission. So one thing I'm trying to focus on right now is I have a mission, and my mission is to help 10,000 people live a high quality of life. So I did a lot of things. Like, when I started this podcast, I was sort of doing my business and trying to help athletes in their content space, and I was doing a few things. I stopped doing teaching, and I was just all in on that. But I had 3 things, and then I sort of got to the end of the year. I didn't do anything for a bit. I'm like, I was always someone who was just go. And then I stopped doing this, stopped doing everything, and I started this again. And I'm like, if I could, same thing. If I stripped all the money away, what would I want to do every single day? And I want to sit down with interesting people. I want to ask them questions, and I want to share them, get actionable strategies, and help people. At the end of the day, I'm a teacher, and I've enjoyed teaching, and the only thing I didn't like was being told what to teach. Was why I sort of stepped away. I'm going back next year, but I stepped away from it because I didn't enjoy being like, well, I have to teach this. Like, I want to teach about the things that I enjoy, and that's what this podcast is for me. This is me teaching. I'm asking people questions, picking their brains, and then I'm hopefully, when I get my 10,000 helpers, then we'll go to 1 million. But I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible, because I'm the same thing. Like, I don't have heaps of money. I wouldn't say I'm rich in any way, shape, or form, apart from my family, my friends, and my life. That's my most important rich.
Some people
exactly.
don't even have that. You know what I mean? It's like, I think people get that mixed up. Like, money isn't the only type of richness in life.
Yeah, and that was a big opening for me. The start of the year, it was like, how can I get to $10,000 months? And I was just so money, and I was just go, because it was all I focused. And then I sort of stepped back. I'm like, if I live my life how I'm living right now forever, including doing the podcasting, like, say, working part-time, would I do that forever? And I was like, I probably could.
It's a good deal.
I could be pretty happy speaking to people, doing the podcast, helping, making content. I enjoy doing it. And that was a big mind frame switch for me, not from when I first started the podcast, I was like, how can I get sponsors and how can I grow it to get this amount of money? And then I just flipped it, and I was like, well, I saw Chris Williamson said something the other day. This is after I had my little mindset shift, but it was like, he used to always try to be the most interesting person in the room, and he thought that's what charisma was. And he switched it, and someone of his friends told him, he was like, no, you want to make the other person feel like the most interesting person in the room. So I'm really trying to focus on that and being, okay, how can I get the most out of the people around me? Because that's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a good mindset. And I think the only difference between where you want to be and where you are now is always just those little mindset flips. It's just one little switch. That thing to that thing. This to that. because you're still the same person. You're still waking up every single day, but you're a different person when you start thinking about things different. You know, there's that saying, it's like when you see things different, the way you do things are different as well. It's like, you're only, again, one conversation away, one podcast away, one video clip, one this, one that, one training session, one meal away from your dream body. And I think that's like so important. And it's been something that like you try to find like what has been the key, but I think it's just a series of like switching things.
I think moving away from the fast hacks.
Yeah.
I was always
That's
me.
a dangerous one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
And that's what marketing is though. Like, yeah. And yet we still fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still fall for it. It's like, you really believe that that's going to be the thing that changes it all and not your diet, your training and stuff like that. And yeah, like even as someone, as I, you know, I like to be consistent, disciplined, like you still fall for it. Like, and everyone falls for like those sort of things as well. So like being able to, again, think clearly is so important.
Ask different questions, get different results. And it's just being able to
I think
change
that's
that.
been the main thing. I was thinking about that before when I was driving. It's like, I think asking better questions bring better outcomes. And that has been something that, that's something I believe in. It's like, if you want the truth, like what people say is probably half truths, but if you want the truth, like ask better questions.
I was driving before and I thought about say less, do more. I think it's really important. I used to be someone that just says all my ideas, and I have heaps of ideas, and I used to always have all the businesses. Like, I love it.
Yeah, we've all got the best ideas.
Yeah, everyone's
always
best
got
ideas.
the $1 million business idea.
And then even yesterday, I was speaking to a mate, and he was telling me about all these ideas, and I'm like, they're great ideas. I'm like, do them if you want to do them, do them.
Yep.
Like, I'm taking on no new ideas. I'm
100%.
taking on my
One
podcast
idea every single
is
day,
everything. And just the power of consistency. That's probably the biggest lesson I've learned over the last year is, as I said before, there's no hacks. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. And that was a mindset shift that I had as well. It was like, okay, am I going to want to make the podcast every single day? I've given myself like 2 years. I saw saying one of them was just like, it takes about 2 years to build a successful podcast.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. Tim Ferriss has a cool flip on it. He's like, he doesn't do things, he has tests. He's just testing things out. So when he does podcasts, like, I'm just going to test out 10 episodes and see if I like it. So that way it allows me to try new things. So I'm like, for me, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to test this podcast out for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
And it'll be number one. So number one.
100%.
It could be number one. But my other goal is I'm going top 50 by the 1st of December 2025. So next year.
That's the thing. It's not actually that hard to be in the top 5 or 10%. I think it's like 70 something episodes.
I think it's
right? It's
the first 3. So if you make past the first 3, you're in the top 70%. If you make it past the first 20, you're in the top like 7% or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually not that. I mean, it is hard to be great, but I mean, you know, I guess the standard at the moment is like we're in a world of that convenience. It's not that hard to be great. Show up consistently with the intention to get better. But yeah, I think that's like such an important way to think about things is like, how can I do this every single day given that I get better at it?
As I said before, this isn't a podcast, it's a mission to help 10,000 people. And you're on the podcast, so you're part of the mission now. What's one thing that we've spoken about, or it could have been something we haven't spoken about, that you're going to take away and that you're going to action and you're going to help improve?
Well, actually, yesterday I was going for a walk and I was listening to his podcast. So I want to finish with what I wrote down and share it with everyone. But I guess the main thing from today's conversation is obviously the why and understand why you do things. For me, what I want to work on is just the upper limit. For me, I think we all have these upper limits in that every time we get to a new level or if we start pushing ourselves, it starts getting scary again because we're becoming a person that we've never experienced. So the self-sabotage comes in. So I still have moments of that, and that's what they call the upper limit. And every time we continue to get better, that upper limit gets higher and higher, and we want to go back to that person. like that person that can't stick to their diet. Oh shit, like it's the weekend, the upper limit's right there. Am I going to sabotage or am I going to lean into that and be like, nah, this is how I'm going about my diet this weekend? So for me, just continuing to break down those upper limits is the main thing for me. And then continuing to be present in everything I'm doing and not looking forward to the next thing so that it ruins the present moment. Like even before I came here, like I sat in the car, a couple of big breaths because I was like, you know, this is the first time I experienced this and this is the first conversation I'm having with this person. Like go in and enjoy it and be present. And I think the best present is presence. You know, the best thing that you can give someone is being able to sit down and have a genuine conversation about how we can both get better. What are the things that are limiting us? So I guess those two things, like for me right now, are the main things that I really want to work on. Is like when I get to those upper limits, lean in. Don't go back to the habits that would keep you where you are, but lean into that. And then, just be more present, enjoying the moment.
Have you read High Performance Habits, the book?
No, I haven't. Who's that by?
Good, Brendan Burchard. Good book.
What's the main thing that for you that you got out of that?
Oh, all right. There's a few things. One of them was he talks about being he has alarms on his phone, and he sort of says one's he reminds him how to be. So one's like be joyful, like he wants to bring the energy, and there's another one. So like every 3 hours he'll get like bring the joy.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's like if he's
cool.
down, he's just like, oh no,
get
I'm
out.
the type of person that brings the joy. And then the other one's just like being. And then one of the things he talks about is being present in the moment. So each time he'll go through a door or he's changing activities, he does a big breath. So he does I think he does 3 breaths. So he's like, all right, I've finished my emails now. I'm going to go start the new activity with no lingering intention from what I've been. So I've just sent a real crappy email to someone, had a bit of a fight. I'm not going to take that into my next business meeting and ruin that mood. So it's like, okay, I got to stop, reset the intention, have 3 deep breaths, and then I go and I move on. So that made me think of that. I thought you might have read that because that's one of these big things that he says.
Wow, yeah, I think that's so good. And it's so hard, man. Like so many people out there working hard, working long hours and coming home to maybe families, relationships. Like sometimes like if you're not able to distinguish between work and like home time, family and stuff like that, relationships, it's going to start to flood into those other areas. And that's something that, being really conscious of is being able to transition. I think life is a lot about transitions and how you transition through things. Like don't let a bad training session show up in your relationship. Don't let the bad things going on in relationship show up in work. Like being able to have those transitions and have those blocks where it stops you and it's just like, okay, we're not going to take that into other things in our life. And I think that would make us so much more fulfilled but also happy is that you're not, because it's hard to do everything great at once. And I think we're in a world where perfectionism or being perfect is always online. And when we're online, what are we doing? The most mundane, the most boring moments of our life. And we're seeing someone like on a yacht. We've got someone like killing a PB. We've got someone on there that's looking amazing, whatever. And it's like, well, my life sucks. It's like, but you don't know what that person's going through at the same time. So I think allowing that not to influence you is such a important part of being able to concentrate on your own life and focus your energy on yourself as well and the people that mean the most and the missions, like you said, the missions that are most important to you as well. So I think that's so important.
Cool. Before you do your section,
so
you said something there, and it was memory. So I was like, being consistently good rather than occasionally great.
Yeah,
I think that's so important. Like, it's not about doing all the PBs all the time. It's about doing those long, slow runs.
You don't get to those PBs unless you go through those mundane, boring. I've had some terrible sessions the last week because it tweaked my back a little bit, and I'm just like, this sucks. This is boring, bro. Like, I'm doing all these supported movements and stuff like that. It's like I can't do full movements, and I'm like, I don't even want to be here. But I know that given that I stay consistent, when it comes back, I'm gonna thank myself for those things. So, which brings into this little quote. So it's by Brianna West, and she has a book, The Mountain Is You.
Okay.
It's so cool. And it's like one day the mountain in front of you you're trying to climb, and time will be so far behind you that the person you become learning to get over it will stay with you forever. And that is the point of the mountain. And I think it's so many times we think about what we have to do to get to a place that we forget that given the mountains that we climb, like our selves will be changed forever. So it's like, if you have that internal feeling that I need to do it or something like that, I feel like I want to do it, like that mountain will be the reason you're so happy 6 months from now, a year from now. So it's like when that mountain appears, just start climbing and don't stop and enjoy the journey.
Before we go, what is your superpower? What is one of your key strengths that you think that you provide, your gift that you share as you would?
Oh, yes, I think for me, I think the gift that I share is that I've been in so many different environments through sports that I can take what I've learned from all those different areas, the people you come across, the different dynamics of the environments that can help, that I can break down for others and help them expand themselves into experiences and things that they haven't been able to do yet, but can do, and being able to share that through me and my uniqueness. Yeah, I think I always think about why I am the way I am. And I think it's all those experiences of being in all those different environments has helped me become a very open person to experiencing new things and try new things as well. So being able to, through health, fitness, training, be able to share that with others and help them achieve things that they never thought possible is, yeah, that I'd say that's my gift.
Thank you for your time today. Where can anyone find you if they're looking to reach out?
Yeah, just on Instagram at Ethan Bradey Coaching. Yeah, all my socials, pretty much everything that I do is through Instagram. So yeah, Ethan Bradey Coaching. And yeah, thanks for having me, bro. Like I love the shit. When you reached out, and conversations are so important to me, and the conversations you have really shape you as a person. So yeah, thank you for having me on, bro. And yeah, obviously, hopefully chop it up again soon.
100%. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.